The Surfer is a 2025 Australian film directed by Lorcan, Finnegan, and stars Nicolas Cage, Julian McMahon, and Nicholas Cassim. The plot follows a man returning to his childhood town, only looking to buy a house and go surfing to his favorite beach that he grew up surfing on as a kid with his son, when he finds himself clashing with the locals. What I said could just be perceived as the most generic story ever, but it is so fucking far from it, I assure you. It's a Nick Cage movie. It's a modern Nick Cage movie, after all. I mean, this is a psychedelic, sun-wrecked Australian fever dream. I'm a huge Nick Cage fan, man. I've loved him my whole life. I've said it here before. I'll say it again. And I loved the trailer for this movie, so it was huge on my list. Probably easily in my top 10 of anticipated films of 2025. My personal reference points for modern Nick Cage movies would be like Pig and Mandy. Those are two of my favorites from the last 25 or so years, and two of my favorite recent films, just hands fucking down. The Surfer, though, the movie we're talking about today, is its own thing, and it's not like those two at all. And for me, there's just nothing better than sitting down to a new Nick Cage movie and saying to yourself, oh, I didn't expect this at all. I also wasn't familiar with Irish director Lorcan Finnegan. And this is his fourth feature-length film, and I'm definitely interested in checking out his other work. I have already kind of, I've scoped his IMDb page for sure. And so this was his second time working with a well-respected Polish cinematographer, Radek Lutzuk. Probably said that wrong. I'm sorry. Polish names are really tough. And the stylish decisions between these two guys, which is just endlessly entertaining. Most of the film actually just takes place outside, and it is filmed mostly in Australia. So the palette we're working with is basically an Australian beach. And even though it's set in December, it's just relentlessly fucking hot. I mean, I've never been to Australia. I've heard stories. It gets hot there. So Lorcan Finnegan and Nick Cage joined forces to really make you feel that Australian heat, man. And to highlight the Australian surroundings, you get a lot of cool still shots, shots of lizards and giant fucking spiders and other little creatures and little Australian beasties. And what's interesting too is you could probably call this a single location film, since it takes place, either on this beach or in the parking lot of the beach, which is just right there. And as you guessed, it does involve, surfing. And not in a sports type way or anything like that. This is not a surfing movie. It just revolves, it happens to be the overall theme. Australia is a massive fucking island, man, and many people there love to surf, from what I've read and from what I've been told. And surfing is one of those things that seems to transcend hobbies, or sports, or whatever. From what I've been told, I have had friends that were into surfing. It's a big deal for these guys and girls. People are generally not, from what I've met and, the ones I've talked to, people are generally not casual surfers. I mean, I'm sure it exists, but it's kind of like, like motorcycles, really. I'm trying to come up with a comparison. Maybe motorcycles, it's its own culture. People live for it. It's part of their identity. And Nick Cage's character has surfed since he was a little kid, and he has passed that love to his teen son. His marriage and his relationship with his son have been kind of falling apart. And he wants to fix all that by buying the house that he grew up in, that happens to overlook the beach. But it seems that the locals seem to really not want him there. In fact, they seem to be hostile to any non-locals. And they seem to be part of like a cult/gang called the Bay Boys, led by the charismatic Scally, played by Julian McMahon. And man, was I glad to see him here. I was a minor fan of that show Nip Tuck back in the day, and that was what I knew him from, other than that Doctor Doom movie, or that the Fantastic Four movie where he played Doctor Doom. It was okay, it wasn't great, but I always thought he was great. He's charming, electric, full of charisma, and I always wondered why he wasn't more famous, why he wasn't bigger. Needless to say, though, I think he was perfect for this role. The entire community here seems to have a complete devotion to him. Blind devotion. And it is an interesting fact that I noticed is that he, and correct me if I'm wrong, but I believe he's the only character that gets a full name. I don't remember what it is, but he does. They say his full name in this movie, as to where most other characters either they get a nickname or like a first name or something. And I took that as he is clearly the center of this film, and he's the most important character at the end of the day. You know, he kind of runs this area. All of the other characters, like I said, either have a nickname. Some characters that are only spoken to by phone might have just a first name. Nick Cage's character is just called the Surfer. His son is referred to as the Kid, and then a mysterious character referred to as the Bum, played by Nicholas Cassim, who knocks it out of the park, by the way. And he might be the most interesting character here, also because he adds depth and intensity and mystery to the story. The Bum lives in his car on the beach parking lot, and he tells the Surfer that Scally killed his son and his dog. He doesn't know exactly what to do, but he's been keeping an eye on Scally, you know, hoping one day he can maybe get his revenge. I thought there were definite parallels between the Bum and the Surfer, but that's the thing. Nothing here is really spelled out clearly, but that's the way I like it. Maybe some things are left open to interpretation, but I felt, you know, that the cult of personality aspect, you know, was the most important. It's relevant as fuck, and I think we'll be seeing a lot more of that in the near future. Just a prediction. So as the Surfer continues to clash with the locals, he slowly starts to lose his sanity as things just escalate into madness and just dehydrating in the brutal Australian climate. Guys, these are the kinds of movies we need right now, and I for one, am going to continue to support filmmakers like this. I'm giving The Surfer a 7.5 out of 10. It's stylish, it's over the top, and the world fucking sucks right now, but we all, you know, we can at least be glad that we're still in the era of Nick Cage. Fans of stuff like The Game and Come to Daddy with Elijah Woods and the best of the recent Nick Cage films, I think should all dig this. Cheers, guys, and I'll see you at the multiplex.